Hello my dear friends, and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about The Bad Batch Season 3, but stay tuned because at the end of the video we do have some pretty major Star Wars updates. So this is a very important week for Star Wars with a lot of things coming up, and one of them on Wednesday is The Bad Batch Season 3 Episode 8, Bad Territory. And it must be said, Episode 6 and 7 set up quite a lot in the way of how our heroes are going to try to navigate keeping Omega safe, away from Hemlock and Tantis, and finding out the vital information about M-Counts, why the Empire wants her so badly, and Project Necromancer. Any breadcrumb is useful information, and more than anything, they need to try and find a safe place to hide. They don't want to lose more men. Teth is now out of bounds for Rex. And I just want to say, rest in peace clone heroes, fallen clone heroes Nemik and Fireball. You will be sorely missed. And so that Rex doesn't lose any more men, and I'm looking at you, Hauser, they need to find safety, and while the Batch is eventually going to return to Pabu, only to be confronted by the Empire there, and the return of our good friend the clone assassin CX2, for now I think a few more things need to happen first. So let's talk about them. I believe the show just set up a very unlikely but logical connection. So here's our predicament. As Rex told him, Hunter needs to find out what midichlorians are, and why they're relevant to Omega. I need to reiterate, we don't know if Omega herself has a high M count or is force sensitive, but what we do know for sure is that her body, her genetics, her DNA are a perfect vessel for high M count transfer with no degradation. This means she is the perfect clone template for Palpatine's project. But right now, our heroes don't know this. Hunter, Omega and Rex need to solve this. All they know is that she was being tested on Tantis for projects relating to M counts. Something Rex has heard of, but doesn't know what it means. So how is Hunter going to navigate this? Well, I have a couple of theories. Now at first I didn't really want to talk about this until episode 8 drops, because I'm not 100% certain it's going to be in this next episode that we find out who the Batch gets in contact with. But here's what changed, and take this with a pinch of salt, they may just be trying to lead us on. I saw a couple of early reviewers kind of implying that we do get some kind of allusion or answer in episode 8, but they didn't want to confirm nor deny who it was. So here are my theories. The first one is the most logical. Rex gets in contact with Ahsoka. She is the most obvious person for Rex to contact and ask about anything relating to the Force, although they have to be very careful with any transmission or encrypted message relating to such a thing. It's just a theory, and while it's very straightforward and logical, it kind of has to break a lot of our assumptions about Rex and Ahsoka. They reunite in Star Wars Rebels and it was assumed that was the first time since the Clone Wars the two properly embraced in person, but Captain Rex through Bail Organa may have tried to make contact with Ahsoka during the two time periods. And considering The Bad Batch Season 3 is the final season of the show, if there were ever a time for Dave Filoni to include his favourite Togruta, it'd be this, even if we don't actually see Ahsoka on screen, making some kind of connection or Rex trying to get in contact with her. While there is a lot of missing information as to Ahsoka's whereabouts exactly during this show, we know a bit from Tales of the Jedi and the Ahsoka novel, the latter of which Lucasfilm seems happy to retcon from time to time. After the declaration of the Empire, and then after Padme's funeral, Ahsoka flees to the Outer Rim, settling down on the distant planet of Thebeska. She worked there as a mechanic under the false name Ashla, and that would have been during the time period of the first 2 seasons of this show. She is then forced to flee again, moving on to the planet of Radha. This cat and mouse game of the Outer Rim hiding continues for some time, until she eventually becomes Fulcrum, joining up with the burgeoning rebellion against Imperial forces. As I say, pretty unlikely Ahsoka would show up, but it definitely sounds like someone that Rex is going to try and contact, maybe not in this next episode, but at some point in Season 3. The next option is that, in their pursuit for a new place to lay low, and before regrouping to take Tantis with force, which I think is going to be at the end of the season, they might stumble into a familiar Jedi that we've spoken about in depth. This could be Quinlan Voss, or someone else. A third theory is that it's going to be Asajj herself. We don't know when she's going to come into the 3rd season, but aside from the Emperor, she is the primary confirmed Force sensitive we know is definitely going to appear. When the Batch stumbles across her, whether she's on their good side or bad side, she is definitely going to be of some help. And the Bad Batch creatives did tease there is a connection between her and Omega. They're two characters with a very interesting dynamic. So if I had to put money on anyone, I would say it's Asajj Ventress who helps them. But aside from those options I just mentioned, it might be very difficult for the batch to find out any information, apart from a few survivors of Order 66. The Empire's destroyed Jedi archives, relics, documents, but the Bad Batch has to prioritize their safety, so I think whoever eventually does help them is someone they stumble across by accident. What do you guys think? Let me know down below. Maybe someone like the Martez Sisters, who had contact with both Rex and Ahsoka, could help them. We've been so focused on bigger questions like who is the mystery shadow agent, that we've been distracted from the fact the season is moving at a very remarkable pace. But I also feel as though because we're at the halfway mark now of the season, in the next episode or two, the season slows down a bit. Maybe another creature episode, which we know there are plenty of. For example, as we saw in the trailer, Wrecker taking on that crocodile. Episode 8 is titled Bad Territory. Captain Rex and the Batch are looking for a safe place to hide, but they come across a few rocky, dangerous, unstable planets first. I also think we're due for our first appearance of Fennec Shand, who I think is going to be on the Batch's side, after she was hired in the first season to protect Omega. I think the Batch needs assistance, and we all want to know, who are these contacts that Echo mentioned? He teases how he's met some very interesting characters across the galaxy. I'm super excited for this next episode. And just before I go, while we're on the subject of Ahsoka, we do have a little bit of news for Season 2. According to thetrailblazer.net, Ahsoka Season 2 is definitely filming in Q4 of this year, and we're also seeing the return of many directors from the first. The codename is still Stormcrow, and they anticipate a very solid season leading into Dave Filoni's Star Wars movie. In other Star Wars updates, Disney has made $12 billion from Star Wars since their purchase in 2012. They've earned back nearly 3 times what they bought the franchise from George Lucas for, and this has sparked the usual debates. Has Disney done right by Star Wars? Has it ruined it? Have they made the right decisions? Well, in terms of stories like The Bad Batch, Andor Season 1, Rogue One, even The Force Awakens from a certain point of view, you might say yes. According to The Hollywood Reporter, the revenue reflects aggregate 10-year revenue streams, both generated and expected. That profit margin is pretty insane, the majority of it being down to the sequel trilogy and revenue generated from Disney+. What do you guys think about this? Share your thoughts on everything we spoke about in the comments down below, guys. And if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next video. May the Force be with you, always.